You think seeking immortality on celestial mountains is just a romantic voyage? It might send chills down your spine. Let's step into the shoes of that lying alchemist and witness this deadly game of hunting the immortals. Your name is Shu Fu, the alchemist most trusted by Emperor Qin Shi Huang. To gain eternal life, you fabricated the grand lie of giant fish blocking the immortal mountains. The Emperor himself led a fleet to hunt whales. When the ballistae tore through the whale's body and scalding blood spread across the sea like crimson silk, you saw a piece of warm jade amid the blood. The Emperor, ecstatic, believed it was a sign of divine fate. Yet within the glow of that jade, you saw your own headless future. The sea breeze, reeking of salt and blood, lashed your face. You, Shu Fu, stood on the bow of the grandest tower ship of the Qin Empire, the Mirage. Behind you, a colossal fleet of hundreds of warships stretched across the sea, banners blotting out the sun, spears and halberds bristling like a forest. On the deck, the elite warriors stood in silence, as rigid as iron. Only the crashing waves broke the stillness, pounding on your taut nerves. Cold sweat had already soaked the inner lining of your loose alchemist's robe. You dared not look back at the figure standing on the highest point, cloaked in a dark dragon robe, Emperor Qin Shi Huang himself. His burning gaze was fixed on the horizon. On that horizon lay the Penglai, Fangjiang, and Yingzhou mountains you painted with your own words, though you had no idea if they truly existed. It was you who wove this colossal lie. 5 years ago, for the first time in the suffocating emptiness of Shenyang Palace's great hall, you described to the Emperor the conqueror of all 6 kingdoms, the ruler of all under heaven, the wonders of the overseas immortal isles. Palaces of gold, stairways of white jade, ambrosia that never runs dry, immortal herbs that grant eternal life. You saw the fire that flared in his eyes, a flame fierce enough to consume all. His fear of death and his obsession with immortality terrified you, yet it gave you the courage to continue. You drained the empire of untold wealth. 3,000 boys and girls, countless artisans, seeds of every grain, voyage after voyage set sail, only to return with nothing but the desolate emptiness of the sea. You knew the last failure was your limit. In the Emperor's eyes, that fire now carried a hint of icy, murderous intent. The immortal mountains lie just ahead, but your voice trembled just enough as you prostrated yourself on the cold floor, forehead pressed to the tiles. But a giant, shark beast coils there, its form like a mountain, its mouth a bottomless abyss. It stirs storms and waves, blocking our path to the immortals. Without mighty bows and strong ballistae to slay it, we cannot step within half a mile of the isle. You staked everything, blaming failure on a phantom sea monster. You remember the deathly silence in the hall then, as if even the flames of the torches froze. Then came the Emperor's low chuckle, swelling into mad laughter, twisted with obsession. Good, a fine beast indeed. I myself will face it. Send the decree, gather every ballista in the land, build colossal ships. I shall shoot this beast with my own hands. In that moment, you went cold all over, knowing there was no turning back. You were swept up by this monstrous tide, rushing toward an abyss you couldn't foresee. Shu Qing! His voice thundered behind you, sharp as clashing metal, cutting through the sea wind. You jolted, nearly losing your footing, and spun around in haste, bowing deeply. Your Majesty. From the corner of your eye, you caught the hem of his black dragon robe, the golden dragon claws embroidered there ready to seize your life at any moment. The Emperor didn't look at you. His hawk-like eyes swept across the turbid waters carved open by the fleet. The sea wind teased a few strands of gray at his temples. That face, once as firm as carved stone, was now shrouded in a near-pathological obsession. Deep in his eyes lurked bottomless anxiety and fear of time's passage. His hand gripped the rail of the tower ship so tightly that his knuckles turned white. "Tell me, when will the beast that blocks my path to immortality appear?" His voice was not loud, but it cut through the surf, every word weighing heavily on your heart. You swallowed the bitter taste of fear. Forcing yourself to raise your head, you fixed your gaze on the misty horizon. Your voice tried to maintain that otherworldly certainty alchemists were known for. "Your Majesty's blessings reach the heavens. Where your dragon's might falls, no evil dares linger. I have read the stars and felt the currents. That giant shark lies lurking in these waters. When it shows itself, omens will follow, storms will rise, waters will darken, or schools of fish will scatter in terror. Scraping the depths of your knowledge, you piece together every sign of sea monster lore to weave a convincing net of lies." You pointed to a patch of darker water in the distance. "Your Majesty, look! The color of the water there is different. Something huge must be disturbing. It likely the beast's breath." Your finger trembled. Only you knew it was nothing but an undercurrent, or a large school of fish. The Emperor followed your finger, his brow furrowed, the sharp light in his eyes growing brighter, both scrutinizing and expectant. The air on the Mirage's top deck was as heavy as lead. Prime Minister Lisi, High Minister Mengyi, and other key officials stood behind, holding their breath. The warriors gripped their crossbows tightly, sweat sliding silently down their young, tense faces, dripping onto the cold bronze armor. Every gaze was fixed on the Emperor, and by extension, on you, the alchemist who had pointed the way. Time crawled under the suffocating silence, each breath stretching into eternity. Suddenly, without warning, a massive force slammed into the bottom of the Mirage. Boom! A deafening roar like thunder split the air. The entire towering ship lurched upward, then crashed down with brutal force. It felt as if an invisible giant hand had lifted the ship from the depths and slammed it back down. Your footing vanished. Your body was hurled into the air and smashed against the hard deck. Stars exploded in your vision, your insides twisted. Shouts, screams, and the crash of objects rolling and shattering erupted all around. The warriors tumbled in chaos. Even Li Si clutched the mast desperately to avoid falling. "Protect His Majesty," Meng Yi roared hoarsely, drawing his sword and lunging toward the Emperor without hesitation. The warriors scrambled to their feet, crossbows snapping toward the sea. The Emperor alone, even in the initial violent upheaval, gripped the railing with incredible strength and balance, holding steady. Not only was he unafraid, but in those sunken eyes blazed a feverish excitement, as if ignited by the thrill of the hunt. It was the ecstasy of a predator finally spotting its prey. "It's here, it's here." The Emperor's voice cracked with excitement, harsh as metal scraping. "Shu Fu! You didn't lie to me! Look, what is that?" You struggled to your feet, ignoring the pain coursing through your body, and rushed to the railing. Following the direction of the Emperor's finger, you see the sea's surface tens of yards ahead of the Mirage. What had been relatively calm, water is now boiling violently, heaving into massive, murky swells. A colossal shadow looms beneath, so large it suffocates the air. In the dark depths, its outline flickers large enough to eclipse several warships at once. Then the churning water suddenly darkens, as if thick, black ink had been spilled, spreading outward in waves. Roar! A deep, ancient bellow, like a voice from the dawn of time, erupts from the depths. It pierces through the water's barrier, rumbling over the fleet like muffled thunder. The sound carries a crushing weight that slams into the very souls of everyone aboard. Fear surges like icy tides, clutching every sailor and soldier's heart. Some turn pale as paper, their teeth chattering uncontrollably. Some collapse, their legs giving out. Others lose control of their bladders, the stench spreading across the deck. The warriors' knuckles turn white as they grip their crossbows, terror seizing them. Yet none dare retreat with the Empire's brutal laws, and the Emperor standing behind them, stepping back, means the abyss. "Cowards!" the Emperor roars, his voice shaking the entire ship. His shout drowns out the ancient bellow and the crowd's panic. He suddenly shoves Meng Yi aside and strides toward the bow, where a massive bronze ballista, custom-built for this hunt and towering like a miniature fortress, stands ready. The menacing arms of the bow are thicker than a man's waist, and the massive bolt, glinting with a cold blue sheen, radiates deadly intent. "Load it! Take aim!" the Emperor commands, his tone sharp and absolute. The trained crossbowmen suppress their fear and move with mechanical precision. The thick winches creak painfully, the grease-soaked sinew ropes tightening under fierce effort. The huge bowstring draws back with a heart-pounding groan until it forms a full moon. The bronze locking mechanism clicks cold and crisp. The warriors lift a bolt over 10 feet long, its spear-like tip glinting and slotted into the groove. The arrowhead points firmly toward the violently heaving, ink-dark water. The entire process unfolds in tense silence, broken only by heavy breathing and the rasp of metal. The colossal shadow, enraged by the fleet's intrusion, no longer lurks. With a deafening roar and a tidal wave that surges skyward, an unimaginable leviathan bursts from the water. Its massive head, like a rising mountain, is sheathed in slick, dark blue skin, as tough as armor. Under the noonday sun, its skin glints with a cold, eerie light. It sprays a jet of water several stories high, like a white dragon ascending to the sky, carrying a sharp, fishy stench. Its enormous, emotionless eye, larger than a carriage wheel, turns slowly, sweeping indifferently over the fleet that, in its gaze, is no more than a collection of fragile toys. There is no rage in its gaze, only the detached, ancient desolation of a being looking down at ants. And yet this is just a fraction of its body rising above the surface. Its shadow alone swallows the bow of the mirage. "Monster! How dare you block my path to immortality?" Qin Shi Huang's beard bristles as he roars, madness and fear of death twisting into an obsession to destroy this creature. He throws himself to the ballista's massive trigger, his eyes bloodshot, glaring into the cold, lifeless eye of the giant whale as if pouring all his vitality into this one strike. "Fire!" With a scream that rips his throat, he yanks the trigger. Thud boom! A deafening, earth-shaking crash explodes like the heart of the world shattering. The massive bronze ballista recoils violently, the entire bow of the Mirage shuddering from the impact. That bolt, forged with the Empire's finest craftsmanship and all the Emperor's manic will, shoots forth like a black lightning bolt, tearing through the air with a shrill scream. Time seems to freeze. Thwack! The sickening sound of steel piercing flesh echoes like a nightmare. Before everyone's stunned eyes, the massive bolt drives into the whale's left eye, precise, as a burning iron spike thrust into solid fat. Woo! A roar of agony, beyond human description, drowns out the wind, waves, and all the noise of the fleet. It is no longer the low bellow of a beast, but the soul-rending howl of a creature struck at its very core. Blinded by the searing pain, the deep-sea monster goes berserk. Boom, boom, boom! Its massive tail surges up like a collapsing mountain, carrying thousands of tons of seawater, and a force bent on annihilation. It slams down on the nearest warship. Splinters, shattered masts, broken planks, and the pulverized remains of sailors scatter like fireworks in all directions. That sturdy warship is snapped clean in two, sinking into the ink-black churning water before a single complete cry of despair can escape. "Loose! Fire! Kill it for me!" The Emperor screams, his voice shrill with manic excitement. He draws the Tai sword at his waist, pointing at the whale thrashing in agony and whipping up titanic waves like a mad tiger. On the Mirage and the nearby warships, the ballistae unleash a second, then a third deadly volley under the hoarse, frantic orders of the officers. Thwack! 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 Whoosh! 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 The twang of bowstrings and the shriek of bolts tearing through the air merge into a symphony of death. Dozens, then hundreds of massive bolts rain down like a storm of steel, shrieking as they plunge into the writhing colossus. Thwack! 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 The sound of weapons piercing tough skin and blubber drums in relentless rhythm. Scalding, thick whale blood, stinking of raw iron, erupts in countless dark red fountains from the monster's horrific wounds. The sea breeze is instantly choked with the stench of blood. It's as if the sky itself weeps crimson rain, drenching the Mirage's deck, masts, and sails. It splashes onto every man's face and body. Everywhere you look, the ocean is painted with endless red, spreading outward from the whale like spilled paint. A vast, shocking lake of crimson spreads out. Sunlight glints off this bloody sea, casting eerie and grotesque reflections. The whale's struggle grows weaker, its agonized roars reduced to broken whimpers, like the dying sobs of a great beast. Its massive body thrashes and convulses within the sea of blood. Each twist of its body sends waves of blood rolling higher. Its one remaining eye, clouded and lifeless, stares toward the sky, as if reflecting endless pain and an incomprehensible desolation. Its enormous form slowly sinks into the ocean dyed red by its own blood. The deck of the Mirage is in chaos, the mix of blood and seawater running unchecked across the planks. The sticky liquid makes it nearly impossible to stand. The warriors look like they've crawled from a blood-soaked hell, their black armor now stained dark red, their faces frozen with blood and the blankness of those who have survived catastrophe. Emperor Qin stands at the bow, the hem of his black dragon robe soaked with blood and clinging to his legs, yet he seems unaware. His chest heaves, his face glowing with a strange, almost sacred radiance, the ecstasy of a fulfilled desire and the intoxication of his own supreme power. He spreads his arms and laughs toward the sky, the sound echoing through the bloody sea breeze. "Ha ha ha ha! The beast is slain! The path to the immortal mountains is open! Immortality! My immortality! You, Shu Fu, are also drenched in that overpowering blood. The thick, warm liquid, reeking of iron, drips down your hair and cheeks, blurring your vision and making you retch. Your legs weaken. Clutching the blood-stained railing, you gasp for breath, trying to calm your churning stomach and pounding heart. Your eyes instinctively drift toward the scarlet waters, where the whale's corpse is being swallowed, the surface bubbling with enormous pockets of blood. At that moment, out of the corner of your eye, you catch sight of something at the edge of the bloody sea. Near the Mirage's hull, something is bobbing in the thick crimson foam, slowly pushed toward the ship by the waves. It's about the size of a fist, irregular in shape, with an unnaturally smooth surface. Amid the blinding scarlet, it glows with a warm, milky translucence. A faint halo of light shifts within it, and strangely, the sticky blood seems unable to cling to it. Each time a wave passes, It shines with a pristine radiance, out of place amidst the hellish scene. As if possessed, you lean out, stretching your arm as far as you can. Just as the waves are about to sweep it away, you snatch it from the water. It is warm to the touch, carrying a heat utterly unlike the chill of blood and seawater. Its texture is as smooth as the finest mutton fat jade, yet there's an inexplicable hardness within. You clutch it tightly, the warmth seeping through your palm, oddly soothing the fear and nausea in your chest. Shu Qing, what is that in your hand? The Emperor's voice thunders above you, filled with wild joy. At some point, he has strode to your side. His eyes, burning with fervent excitement, lock onto your clenched fist. You stiffen, the crushing pressure making it hard to breathe. Slowly, almost trembling, you open your hand. There it lies, a milky white piece of jade, streaked with faint traces of blood, resting quietly in your blood-stained palm. Under the noonday sun, its inner glow seems to come alive, flowing more vividly, exuding a sacred and mysterious aura. The contrast with the blood-soaked battlefield around it is haunting. For the first time, the Emperor's voice trembles, no longer commanding or enraged. Instead, it is filled with something close to reverence, a cautious excitement. He extends his hands, carefully, as though receiving a priceless treasure, and gently takes the jade from you. The instant it settles into his palm, his eyes widen, his body shuddering violently. "Warm! It's warm!" he cries out, his voice breaking under the shock and ecstasy. "In my hand, it's warm. It's glowing. It's calling to me. This is divine fate. The immortal mountains have granted me this token." He raises the jade high toward the sunlight, laughing louder and more manically, his voice ringing with absolute certainty in his immortality. "Heaven blesses great Qin. Heaven blesses me. Immortality. I will live forever. Xu Fu, you have rendered unparalleled service. I will reward you lavishly." The ministers and warriors, stunned by this sudden omen, erupt in thunderous cheers. His Majesty's fortune reaches the heavens. The immortal fate favors him. Great Qin shall last 10,000 generations. Long live His Majesty. Long live, long live. The deafening cheers drown out the sound of the sea. Yet, amidst this roar of voices, as the Emperor raises the jade high, basking in sunlight and adoration, a sudden change occurs. You, Xu Fu, glance again at the jade in his hand, and in that instant, the soft glow within it flares into a blinding light. It's as though a miniature sun bursts inside it. This light does not illuminate the world, but pierces directly into your mind. A vision, sharp and soul-rending, slams into you like the tip of an icy spear, shattering your consciousness. You see Shanyang Palace, towering and solemn, and the familiar 99 steps of white jade. On those cold steps, a severed head rolls, its eyes wide open, pupils frozen in indescribable terror, despair, and a strange relief. That face, the face you see in the mirror every day, it's yours. Blood gushes from the neck, snaking swiftly across the white jade steps. The crimson spreads like a stain of burning scarlet, and before the imperial throne, a figure clad in a black dragon robe, its back to you, slowly sheathes a blood-dripping sword, the Tai sword. The motion is merciless, without hesitation. That back belongs to the same emperor now beside you, elated by this so-called immortal token. Ugh. A short, stifled gasp, like a dying beast, escapes your throat. A chilling wave explodes from your tailbone, racing up your spine to the crown of your head. The blood in your veins feels frozen. Everything before your eyes, the cheering crowd, the laughing emperor, the jade in his hand, even the endless sea of blood suddenly fades, warps, and spins. Finally, it all collapses into a suffocating, bottomless darkness. At the end of that darkness, there is only the severed head on the white jade steps and those unclosing, lifeless eyes. The vision vanishes as abruptly as it came. You jolt awake, realizing your hands are gripping the railing so tightly that your nails are digging into the hard wood. Your whole body trembles as if pulled from an ice pit, your teeth chattering uncontrollably. The lingering warmth of the jade in your palm now burns like a red-hot brand. The Emperor still basks in the joy of his immortal gift. The courtiers still shout their praises, but you, Shufu, stand between false jubilation and the true hell of bloodshed. You stand on the coldest, sharpest edge of fate. Immortality, immortal mountains. You watch the Emperor caress the jade with an obsessed gaze, catch the glimmer of calculation flashing in Lisi's eyes, and see the sea dyed red with whale blood, littered with broken limbs. A bone-deep chill and unprecedented clarity flood you like a tidal wave. A lie remains a lie. No matter how dazzling the bubble, it will burst. And that vision of the cold execution block is your end. No! You refuse to wait for death. A mad yet lucid thought splits through the chaos like lightning, seizing your entire mind. The fleet sails homeward in blood-soaked silence. You, Shufu, lock yourself inside the cramped cabin like a wounded beast licking its wounds. The image of the rolling severed head on the white jade steps haunts your dreams nightly, each awakening leaving you drenched in cold sweat. The Emperor's obsession with the immortal jade grows with each passing day. He is no longer content to merely admire it. He orders artisans to place it in a custom golden tray, keeping it in his bedchamber day and night, and even demands that you nourish it daily with immortal breath. Each time you approach the warm jade, each time you see the Emperor's near pathological tenderness as he strokes it, you feel the blade named exposure inching closer to your neck. You must cut the rope before the blade falls. The chance arrives one foggy morning, on the eve of the Mirage's return to Langya Port. The Emperor, worn from excitement and days at sea, finally shows fatigue and rests early, leaving the jade unguarded for once. Using your alchemist's authority and your familiarity with the ship, you slip past the guards like a ghost and enter the fleet's supply area. You're not after gold or silver, but seeds. The grains, beans, and vegetables meant for cultivation on the immortal mountains. Like a ravenous field mouse, you stuff bags of plump grains, beans, and seeds into the hidden compartments, sewn into your wide alchemist's robe. As your fingertips touch those dry, life-filled kernels, a strange warmth replaces your fear, spreading through your cold heart. This is hope seeds for life and the future. The next day, Langya Port erupts with banners and drums. Amid the thunderous cries of "Long live the Emperor," Qin Shi Huang strides proudly onto solid ground. He glances back at the massive fleet, and finally at you. Shu Qing, the immortal path is open, and the jade bears witness. Prepare at once, and choose an auspicious day to sail again. This time, you must bring me the elixir of immortality without fail. His eyes are sharp as blades, filled with both expectation and a hidden threat. You bow deeply, your forehead nearly touching the ground. Your voice is steady, betraying not a hint of emotion. Your servant obeys. I will not fail your majesty's great trust. Yet this voyage will require more men and supplies than before, especially strong sailors and guides familiar with the sea routes, to ensure success. I humbly ask your majesty to grant me permission to recruit locally at Langya. Granted. The emperor waves his hand dismissively, too immersed in his dream of immortality to care about such details. In the following days, you move tirelessly, like the most diligent foreman and the shrewdest merchant, across the docks, fishing villages, and markets of Langya, under the guise of a royal conscription order, to gather herbs for the emperor, and with the lure of rich rewards and the weight of imperial authority, you quickly assemble a crew. Among them are impoverished men seeking a new future, shrewd townsfolk lured by gold, and, most importantly, seasoned sailors and fishermen who know the treacherous waters. Their eyes hold confusion, greed, or respect for the sea, but none have the pure longing for the unknown shores that you need. Still, they are enough. You require only men who can sail and obey orders, not true believers, using the pretext of testing the performance of new ships. You repeatedly lead these selected men on small, inconspicuous fast boats out of the harbor and into the near seas. On each trip, you secretly chart routes, studying currents and stars, tracing again and again in your mind that escape path east, further east, and east again. Cleverly, you use these test voyages to transfer the precious seed bags, those vessels of life, onto the fastest, most seaworthy ships you have set aside. Each transfer feels like dancing on the edge of a blade. One mistake means utter ruin. Time slips by under the pressure of frantic preparation and mounting tension. The Emperor's patience, like sand in an hourglass, is draining fast. He summons you with increasing frequency, his questions growing ever more demanding. Each inquiry revolves around the warm jade and the elusive elixir of immortality. You can only stall with increasingly elaborate excuses, purification rituals, sea offerings, observing celestial omens to buy time. You feel the noose tightening around your neck, pulled inch by an unseen hand. At last, one sweltering evening, heavy with the threat of an approaching storm, Li Si appears outside your temporary residence. He comes alone, without attendants, his wide chancellor's robe hanging still in the airless heat like a cold stone tablet. "Master Shu," Li Si says, his voice calm and flat, betraying no emotion, yet it chills you more than any accusation. His Majesty's heart is troubled by the elixir he cannot wrest. The omen at sea is, after all, just an omen. What His Majesty seeks is a real elixir of life. Master, have you not taken too long? His eyes, deep as ancient wells, fix on you as though they can pierce every layer of your carefully woven lies. Cold sweat beads at your temple trickling down your face. You know, the final moment has come early. This old fox has smelled the scent of fear. "Chancellor, please see clearly," you say, forcing calm, bowing deeply, your voice tinged with just the right weariness and a faint trace of anxiety. "The immortal fate is already in our hands. The path to immortality open, this is heaven's will. Yet, to obtain the elixir, we must be pure in spirit and aligned with the heavens. Now, the seas, winds, and clouds are unsettled. The stars show uncertain signs. To sail in haste might offend the spirits and waste all our efforts. I have divined it 3 nights from now, at midnight. The heavens will grant us the guiding starlight, a once-in-a-century auspicious time. Depart then, and divine favor is certain. I beg the Chancellor to inform His Majesty, and grant me just 3 more days. Only 3 days." You lift your gaze, locking eyes with Li Si's abyssal stare, wagering all your skill and final shred of hope. Lisi is silent, time stretching unbearably in that suffocating stillness. His gaze, like an icy probe, seems to pierce your skull and delve into the most hidden corners of your soul. Your heartbeat drums in your ears until, at last, his thin lips twitch slightly. He draws a faint, cold smile, hardly more than a shadow of an expression. Oh? Guiding starlight? Once in a century? He repeats your words softly, each syllable stabbing like an ice pick. Master Shu is learned in the stars. Surely you cannot be mistaken. He inclines his head slightly, then turns and walks away, his broad sleeves brushing over the threshold without a sound. His silhouette fades into the dusk, but his words, like poisoned icicles, stab deep into your heart. You know he does not believe you. These final 3 days are not a reprieve, but a stay of execution, a countdown granted by Li Si to confirm your fate, and your final deadline, Shu Fu. That night, the stars and moon are swallowed by darkness, and heavy clouds press low over Langya Port. Dull thunder rolls deep within the clouds, heralding a coming storm. You pace your cramped room like a trapped beast, Li Si's cold words and piercing gaze, the Emperor's growing murderous intent, and the vision of the white jade steps all twisting together. The images tear at you, there's no time to wait. Li Si's visit is the clearest sign of danger. Tomorrow you must act tomorrow, before the storm breaks, before the net tightens. You shove open the window, the salty, damp wind gusting in, whipping the candlelight into chaos. Your eyes lock onto the dark silhouettes of the ships, faintly visible in the harbor. The last shred of hesitation burns away in the fire of resolve. At dawn, the sky is as heavy and gray as lead, suffocating the air. The wind howls across the bay, tossing dirty waves against the seawall. The storm long in the making is about to break, claiming that the auspicious hour nears, and the fleet must undergo a final sea-offering ritual before the storm, to purify the ships and commune with the spirits. You present the imperial token given by the Emperor. Its fierce Kwai dragon carvings gleam faintly in the dim light. The officer on duty glances at the ominous sky, then at the silent crew you've secretly prepared. A flicker of doubt crosses his face. Master Shu, with this weather, he hesitates, eyeing the churning foam on the sea. Precisely because a storm approaches, we must prove our devotion. You raise your voice sharply, wielding the imperious tone of an alchemist, your gaze cutting through him like a blade. This is the crucial step to summon the spirits and ward off misfortune. If the Emperor's quest for immortality fails because of your hesitation, can you bear that burden? You invoke the Emperor's wrath, a sword hanging over every man's head. The officer's face pales. He knows the Emperor's madness for the elixir and the cruelty of Qin law. His fear smothers his doubt. He grits his teeth and waves you through. Open the gates! Let Master Shu's fleet depart for the sea ritual! The heavy harbor gates creak open under the winches. You lead your hand-picked crew onto the fast ships, already loaded with seeds and fresh water. Standing at the bow of the lead vessel, your heart pounds as if it will shatter your ribs. You don't dare look back at Langya Port, now shrinking behind you, nor imagine if cold eyes watch your ritual fleet from the high platform. Raise the sails! Full speed east! The words scrape out of your throat, raw and desperate. The sails billow violently in the gale. The fast ships leap forward like arrows loosed from the string, crashing through the frothing waves at the harbor mouth, plunging headlong into the gray, raging, awakening sea. The wind lashes icy waves onto the deck, the hull shuddering and groaning under the strain. And then, woo, woo, woo. Piercing horns cut through the storm, shrill as the death knell of hell, echoing from the direction of Langya Port. Short, urgent, filled with the scent of pursuit and slaughter. The signal of a chase! Your heart sinks into the icy depths. You've been discovered. Li Si, it must be Li Si. He never gave you 3 days. Faster, faster. You scream, your nails digging into the wooden railing, your knuckles white with strain. The sailors understand. Fear of death drives them to their limits as they fight the sails and steer through the storm. You glance back and your chest tightens. From Langyaport, several sleek, black warships slice through the rough sea like sharks drawn by blood, racing toward you with terrifying speed. Their prows split the waves like knife blades. On their decks, Qin warriors in black armor glint coldly under the gloomy sky, giant crossbows already raised and aimed at your ritual ships. The deadly bolts gleam with icy light in the dimness. At the bow of the lead warship stands a familiar figure, hand on his sword, robes whipping in the gale. The distance is too great to see his face clearly, but the Chancellor's robe is unmistakable, like a banner calling your soul to judgment. Li Si, he's come himself. Despair coils around your throat like a venomous snake. Your fast ships are quick, but before the Empire's elite warships, especially in this weather, being caught is only a matter of time. Once they are within crossbow range, hard left, into the wind's eye. Use the waves. A hoarse but steady voice barks at your side. It's the old helmsman, weathered and silent until now, his calloused hands gripping the helm like iron. His cloudy eyes are locked on a darker, wilder stretch of sea ahead the storm's heart. Are you insane? That's suicide, a young sailor cries in panic. Stay here and we'll be shot to pieces anyway. The old helmsman roars back, wrenching the heavy rudder. Follow me if you want to live. Under his command, the ship tilts sharply, skimming past a crashing wave by a hair's breadth and diving toward the monstrous maw of the storm. In that instant, you grasp his plan, throw yourselves into the jaws of death to survive. Use the storm's chaotic winds and currents to lose the pursuers. It's a gamble of life and death, but the only path left. Follow him! All ships, follow the lead vessel! You scream with every ounce of strength, your voice shredded by the wind. The fast ships, like terrified birds, follow the helmsman's lead vessel into the storm's fiercest, darkest core. In an instant, the world flips, sky and sea merge without boundary. Towering waves crash from all sides like moving mountains. Thunder explodes overhead, and lightning rips through the clouds, bleaching the sea white for a heartbeat. The hull moans with unbearable strain, threatening to splinter apart. The icy rain mixes with salt spray, lashing every face and body like whips. The sailors cling desperately to anything they can grip, retching, screaming, and praying through the violent pitching. You clutch the mainmast, your body flung up and slammed down over and over, your insides heaving. In a flash of lightning, you manage to glance back. The black imperial warships, caught at the storm's edge, buck wildly, barely holding together. They lack the courage or the skill to charge into this death zone as you have. Li Si's silhouette wavers on the lead warship's bow, glaring at your disappearing fleet. Before being swallowed by towering waves and torrents of rain, the storm's fury becomes your shield. You collapse onto the soaked deck, seawater flooding your nose and mouth. The exhaustion of survival washes over you, but deep in your chest, the lingering warmth of that jade seems to fight against the boundless cold and darkness. Time crawls an eternity of terror. At last, the storm's roar begins to fade, like a raging beast spent of its strength. The black clouds rip open in jagged seams. Pale, damp light struggles through, illuminating a ravaged sea. Your battered fast ships, like chewed-up remnants spat out by the monster, bob unsteadily on the calming swells. Masts are broken, sails shredded into strips. The hulls are scarred with dents and cracks. Exhausted sailors lie sprawled across the flooded decks like fish gasping on dry land, their heavy breathing the only sound. Debris drifts on the waves. You haul yourself upright, your bones creaking, clutching the shattered rail as you gaze far into the distance. In the east, where sea meets sky, beyond the torn clouds, a newborn sun is forcing its way through, spilling golden light across the world.